topic to cover with you guys. And that includes the weekend, meaning what happens during the weekend to most people? What do we do? What becomes of us? And I was thinking about this subject earlier today, and I thought, I talk about how my stepdad used to wake up every morning at 4 a.m. and go crush it, right? Every single day, put in a 12-hour workday, sometimes 16-hour workday. And that's what it took. That's what it took for him to push his family through the struggle of making things happen. But I remember when it came to the weekends were like time to check out, right? Time to not operate. Even when he came home, it was like he could leave his work at work, and I never even knew anything about what was happening at at the office or at work. And on the weekends, it was like work didn't even exist until it came time to start preparing for Monday morning, which, by the way, everyone dreaded because Monday mornings started at 4 a.m. So Sundays ended quite early. So I think about that, and I think about how different my life is, how different our life is. Our life is so different. We can't leave our business at home or at the office, right? Our business is at home. Our business is home. It travels with us. It goes with us everywhere. We can be on vacation and still pick up the phone line from a new lead that came in. We can be touring the country and closing a transaction. See, we can't have that same opportunity because we can't have that same opportunity. Sometimes we forget that it also involves looking for opportunities to stay productive, right? Sometimes we like to think that because it's the weekend that it's time to check out, because we were trained that way, because we grew up that way, because we've seen other people around us work that way. How many of you guys have friends who can't wait till the weekend because that's the time that they get off from work? How many of you know people who are just looking forward to those 2 days, or there's even better, the 3-day weekends where there's a Monday holiday, right? And then they dread Monday mornings. That can't be us. That isn't us. And in order for us to find that productivity, we must find ways to stay productive. So I'm leaning on you today to help us find ways to push through the weekend lull. If it's you that decides that the weekend is off time, so be it. But your business will show the results from that. And if you're the type of person that wants to push harder, that wants to see higher limits, that wants to see the better results, that wants to make improvements in yourself, in your business, in the way that you operate, then maybe this is a good opportunity for you to share or listen to some of the other folks who are sharing in regards to how we can stay productive on the days when we're not meeting, when there's not as much accountability, and when everyone else around you seems to be resting. So what are we doing this weekend to stay productive, working in the business or on the business? Either way, what's happening with you guys? Who wants to share first?
Yeah, I'll go. So this weekend I'll be focused on making phone calls, getting listing appointments, and working out on closing a deal or two next week.
Beautiful. Now, talk to me about how you structure your weekends. I actually know that you're very structured on your calendar. How does it look like for you to actually have some productivity in a weekend where the reality is that you could take it off if you wanted to?
Yep, but I won't make the money that I want to make, so can't take it off. The way that my weekend structure is Sundays completely off. Don't bother me. Don't talk to me. But Saturday, from the time that I'm up all the way till the time that I go to bed, if something comes up, I'll get it done. And typically between 10 and 2 p.m., I'm either making phone calls or working on the business or in the business.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Awesome. Very good to hear it. Now, this weekend, you said your main focus is to comb through the database and set some more listing appointments. That's not the typical thing that you do on Saturdays. I've seen you do it before, but that's not the typical thing. Why are you doing that this weekend?
Yeah, I'm low on sellers. So I built up a database, or not a database, a pipeline a few months ago, and they're starting to pay off. And the ones that are getting ready to come on the market now are from 3 months ago. So now I need to start working again on getting some in the back burner.
Got it. So what you started working on in November is now showing up right now in January. So it's been a full 3-month cycle. And then if you don't see what's getting ready to happen 3 months from now, meaning if you don't have potential listings already in the books for March or for April, then now is the time to start working on those, right? That's what you're saying?
Yeah.
Got it. And does that same rule apply to buyers?
More than likely, yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree. It applies to everyone. It applies to sellers, it applies to buyers, it applies to no matter what we're doing. I love it. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. All right, anybody else? Who else wants to contribute to staying productive this weekend or any weekend by that means? How do we stay productive during the weekend?
Well, I'm working Saturday, and I usually wake up on Sundays to see if there's any new leads, and I hit them up. I think that's just a head start to the next week. And I'm dropping down the leads. I already got them at 16 days, and I'll continue to drop set up appointments.
Awesome, man. Congratulations. I can't believe we're at 16 days. I love it. That's great to hear. So here's what I'm hearing. I'm knocking out everything I need to do on Saturday, and then on Sundays I wake up, check if there's anything that I have to do as an emergency. If there is, I knock that out as fast as possible and then go about my day. Yeah, that's perfect, and that's a great plan. There's nothing wrong with that. If it works, it works, and like you said, it's a really good head start to having a good Monday. Guys, there's no better thing to do for having a good week than to take an hour or two on Sunday and plan. And now we're even planning our meals. I don't know if you guys are doing that right now, but on Sunday nights, 6 p.m., 7 p.m., planning what we're going to eat for the rest of the day, cooking it. We pre-plan our meals and then storing it in little boxes to be ready to have that for lunch for the week, so we can have something healthy. So awesome. Very good. Planning. I love it. Anybody else?
Yeah, I want to set up some lunches with SOI that I know are going to be interested in buying soon. They said that they were going to want to buy like later January last year. So I want to actually set up some lunches with them and talk to them about that.
Beautiful, beautiful. I love it. How many lunches are you going to set up? Let's hold you accountable to this idea.
I want to set up at least 2.
Beautiful. So this weekend, we're going to work on setting up 2 lunches with people who have expressed their interest in buying. They're part of your SOI. And by having lunch with them, it allows you to see them. And 2, it allows you to seal the deal.
Right.
Nice. I love it. Remember that it's not about spending a ton of money on those type of lunches. Don't go out and get fancy. It's about having a quick coffee somewhere. It's about having something simple. And I never talk about business in those lunches until the absolute end, if necessary. I never talk. It's all about just hanging out, having a good time. And then at the end, hey, by the way, I should mention this. Give the entire 59 minutes to hanging out and 1 minute towards what needs to be done and 3 steps to what's next. You got to keep it real simple in those businesses. It can't be all business. It has to almost always be all catching up, all hanging out, having a good time. People love to work with people that they love, which obviously they do, but they also have to like you too. So awesome.
That's good advice. Thank you.
Who else wants to go?
I'll step in. So we usually have it open for the most part. It's one of those where we know work is going to be done, whether it's showing homes or these are an tag team. You're it. We go take care of some things that need to get done. We have reserved Sundays every other weekend for open houses. But we also had reserved Saturday evenings for any family gatherings that we have. They typically happen on Saturday evening, but Saturday before the like afternoon and morning, we leave it open to be flexible and getting some work done. So we're not super intentional on the weekends. It's what do we need to catch up on? Who do we need to show homes to? What houses do we need to see? So it's a bit more flexible on the weekend, but we always manage to find work to get done.
Yeah, and there always is work to get done. The key to all that is to not play catch up as much and find a way to be intentional about what you want to achieve, because it helps you propel a little bit faster, right? So like, for example, if on Saturdays between 10 and 2, because that's your flex time, which you just mentioned, you decided to take 2 of those hours, 2 of them to potentially show houses and 2 of them to work on the business, right? Not necessarily in the business, meaning showing houses, but on the business to work on some of your campaigns, to work on some of your processing, to update some of your lead sources, do something to work something on the business so that the next week your business has improved by just one slight tiny little notch, right? And so every time you click that little notch up one, you're making that little tiny improvement every weekend, and at the end of the year you've made 52 improvements. And then you get to the end to next year and you realize, you look back and you're like, it only took 2 hours out of this out of the week every week to make a significant advancement in our business. That's the only thing that I would add to what you're already doing, which sounds good, by the way. All right, anybody else? Last chance, tips or tricks or whatever you want to contribute to having a productive weekend. What if you don't have any houses to show? What if you don't have any clients to follow up with? What if you feel like maybe you achieved what you wanted to? What if you just can't think of what to do? What's next? What happens? Does that mean sit around and do nothing and hang out? What does it mean? What do we do? Brandon says, make phone calls. Yes, that is for sure one thing you can always fall back on and never mess up, right? If you can't find something else to do, that phone is the one thing that we know always pays, for sure. Anything else we can do? If you don't have something lined up already, it doesn't mean it's weekend off time, guys. We don't work 9 to 5s. This is not a scenario where your 401k is going to kick in after 20 or 30 years. That's not how this works, right? You're not going to get to the end of this without putting in the time and effort it takes first. All right. Brandon says, leases, door knocking, Craigslist ads, drop bandit signs. Absolutely. Those are all things that you can be actively doing. If you don't have anything else to do, right, you find something to do. You take that Saturday morning when you're not hanging out with family, and find some doors to go knock on. You set up an open house. You find something to do. You pull up your database and you clean it up so that by the time you get to the office on Monday, your database is clean. You know exactly what needs to be done. There's a ton of things that you can do to advance without even having to leave your doorstep, if that's what you choose to. Maybe you feel like kind of hanging out in your pajamas this weekend. That's okay. You can do that, but find a way to be productive while you're doing it. And that's the point of this conversation, is when you're staying in production mode, you'll notice that your business will consistently increase. And when you find ways to leave work at work and go home and be at home, you'll notice that it takes a lot longer for you to hit those goals that you want. This is not a 9 to 5. We don't work in a job per se. This is our job, but we don't work in a job where we can just go ahead and clock out, hit the punch card and be done. That's not how this works. We have to find ways to stay in production mode, to stay in performance mode. And when you do so, you'll get exactly what you want out of it. It's all about what you put in. All right, guys, let's go ahead and close out. While I'm pulling up our morning affirmations, I want everybody to drop something that they want to achieve next week. Something that they want to achieve next week into the chat box. So I'm going to go ahead and start seeing you. Yes.
Actually, I have a scenario I would like to bring up, if you don't mind, regarding appraisal.
This is perfect. While everyone's dropping something that they want to achieve, let's talk about that.
All right, sweet. So remember the appraisal I was telling you that we knew was going to come back low?
Yeah.
Okay, so it came at price, and we were extremely just like in awe.
Shock.
Yes, just like, oh my goodness, how could this happen? So long story short, we found out that the appraisal remeasured and found magically 200 square feet in the square footage, which made it meet the sale price that we were purchasing at. So my buyer is not happy. You figure this would be, it's bitter good news, because she was banking on it come at least a couple of thousand lower.
Yeah.
And if we did it originally at the square feet that was originally given to us, it would have been a good couple. Like it was appraised at 223. We have it at 244.
Mm-hmm.
We had the sale price at 244K, and it appraised at 111 square feet. So it would have been around a 223K that it would have been appraised at. But since we found, or the appraisal found the extra 200 square feet, it appraised for the amount that she's currently purchasing it for. So yeah, she's unhappy. We are going today to remeasure what the appraisal measured, because she's ultimately wanting to see for herself, like, where this extra space came from, and all of that. So I guess for me, the dilemma we're having is that it seems like she may want me to fight the appraisal and bringing down the square feet, which is definitely something new for me. And I kind of just...
Your client wants you to find a way to bring down the appraisal?
Yes.
Okay. Is it because she doesn't qualify, or is it because she's stuck on a certain number? What is the underlying factor that makes her want to do that?
Honestly, I think it's the principal. She qualifies.
What principle is she leaning on for that?
Well, it's part of the principle, and part of the idea of that because she's been looking at all the properties that's been selling around the neighborhood. She's like, there's just no way it can appraise for like whatever we have it at. So she was already like banking on the idea that it was going to drop. So she was really hoping that her monthly payments would be lower. So that's what's really what she was like, oh, right. It's like she can afford where it's at now. However, she really wanted it to be lower. And so it's that, and again, the principal.
Got it. Okay. And what are you having a problem with?
Well, not a problem yet, I guess. I'm just trying to like speak into like figuring out ahead of time is, I honestly think that once we go through the measurements today around the house and compare them to what the appraisal gets, and we see that they are the same, they are matching up, I feel like since she slept on it, she may be like, okay, you know what, let's just go ahead and move forward. However, this client is really, she seems like one of those where if the numbers aren't matching, and she would want me to figure out a way to get this corrected so that she can get a lower amount.
Which you have no control over, right? Got it. All right. So have you had the just out of curiosity conversation with her? So just out of curiosity.
Oh, okay. Got it. No, go ahead.
Yeah. So having that just out of curiosity conversation, I think would open up a whole lot of additional views as to why she's thinking this, and come to a point where you can press on the button that really is triggering her. So just out of curiosity, what is it specifically that you need in order to be able to make a decision on this? And then by doing this, you're also going to find a way to empower her to make the decision, because it's not your decision to make. It's not your play to go out and make something happen for her. It's her decision, and these are the options. Just out of curiosity, what needs to happen for you to make a decision? Just out of curiosity, what's stopping you from moving forward with this right now? Or just out of curiosity, what is it really that's bothering you about it appraising or this additional square footage being found? Let's figure this out so we can make some decisions together. And then you move that from just out of curiosity to, these are the two options that you have. And so giving her options will make her feel less cornered, which right now I think that's probably what it is, right? People feel cornered when they feel like, they were expecting one thing and then they get something else, right? So, Mrs. Client, these are the options that you have after we've verified whatever the just out of curiosity conversation brings up. And the two options are, we can cancel the transaction and you are going to possibly lose your earnest money, but we can go out and find something that fits your criteria. However, in the next round, if it's a must that you have a house that appraises at 220, then we're only going to look at houses in that price point so that we don't take this risk again. And then, or two, we can move forward with this as is and close it, considering that we're already nearly at the finish line. Which one is going to be best for you? And give her the option, give her the opportunity to make that decision. And she may say something like, well, Yesenia, I need you to go out and find a way to make me come in, make this lady take $20,000 off of her price point. And you may have to have the reality conversation with her. Mrs. Client, that's not something I can realistically do. I have no control of that. Here is what I can do.
You broke up when you talked about, well, Yesenia, I need you to blah, 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 blah. You like,
because she might ask you to do something that's not within reality, right? Like we get clients all the time that are like, well, I need you to find a way to take 20 grand off of this. And you're like, what? Like, how, what am I, a magician? And you have to have the serious conversation with them. Mrs. such and such, I cannot do that. That's not something that I can realistically do in this scenario. These are things that are verified by third-party professionals. I can't tell them what to sell the house for. If it appraised, that's what the lender is willing to lend on, which means we should be ready to move forward unless you don't feel comfortable. And if you don't feel comfortable, these are the risks. And here's what you can do. Here's your two options. Just put it all back on her making the decision so that she can feel empowered and you can just be giving her that information. The problem sometimes comes from us in the beginning, making our clients feel like we can do stuff like that we can pull magic tricks out the hat, and maybe finding where that conversation stemmed from, or where that expectation stemmed from is important. I found early on in my career that sometimes I would overpromise, and therefore people expected things that were unrealistic and I couldn't deliver on, and now it's a little different. I had a buyer's meeting for the first time in quite a while the other day, and the conversation started with, well, I want this on my wish list, and I immediately recognized that they weren't going to get what they wanted, and said, look, I can't even be your agent unless you can tell me that you understand that you're going to get maybe 70 to 80% of that wish list at best. And if you can't afford to build your own house right now because you're a first-time home buyer, then you're not going to get everything you want. And so either we have to be realistic or I can't be your agent. And they just sat there and got shocked. But that conversation, that little piece right there is what saves that transaction later when they're out there looking and saying, well, I just can't find the perfect house. And how many times have we heard that, right? So maybe look into some of that as well and figure out where in the conversation we could have corrected or steered them in a direction of what potential outcomes could have been and how they should react. Because we can tell the client that.
Yeah, no, she was definitely, when she got word that it appraised for that amount, she was like, okay, well, I guess it is what it is. Like, she was just like, okay, but then when we got the appraisal and we started comparing like the homes that they use, and then we seen that the square feet was 200 more than it originally said on HCAD, that's where we're like, well, that's where the price, met with everything else. And then that's when she was like, I felt like the listing agent put that number on purpose, like they knew it was more. And so she just went on in this rant, and I'm just like, oh my goodness, I'm just gonna let her,
Yeah, and you know what? Sometimes all they need to do is just vent and have somebody listen and support them and give them some options. We have a client, Robin, right now, who was so upset about something. I mean, a slew of things happened to her that we couldn't control. I literally called her and she literally complained for 30 minutes and told me about all the horrible things that she was experiencing. And at the end, she goes, but I know you guys don't have anything to do with that. I'm not even mad at you guys. I just needed to vent. It was like, okay, great. We hung up and now she's getting ready to go to closing. So sometimes that's all it is. So anyways, guys, all right, it's 9 o'clock. I, as always, promise you to be out on time. So thank you guys for joining us today. We are committed to making certain that we pay our rent daily, not monthly. That's rest, exercise, nutrition, thoughts. By having those 4 things in place and sticking to them, you realize not only is your life better, but your business sees the results that you want out of it as well. So as always, repeat after me. I am a top performer and will perform like what I am today. Success and achievement come naturally to me. I always do better than I did yesterday. All of my thoughts, all of my efforts will lead me to the success that I desire. There's an opportunity in everything and every person that presents itself to me. I'm going to purposefully and intentionally stay in production mode through the weekend and have a great start to my following week. The obstacles and challenges that will present themselves are there to strengthen me. I choose to be happy. I love what I do. I can't wait to see you guys next week on Monday. Don't forget that we're going to be jumping on to the company meeting on Mondays from this point forward. So you'll get a Zoom link. It should already be in your calendars. Go on there and click yes so you can get the reminders. So we're going to be on Zoom on Monday, and then we'll resume to our platform here on Ring Central starting Tuesdays through Fridays. Thank you guys again. We'll see you guys next time. Let's go out there and crush it this weekend.